Welcome to Tapped In. My name is Figueroa-Martinez at DFM Coaching. And this week we're going to be discussing the guard. And this is a debate that I find myself in quite often, especially online. And is the guard primarily offensive or defensive? And what I mean by that is, what is the primary goal of the position? And what are you giving up when you're in it? And what are your strengths when you're in it versus being the guard passer or the person on top? My opinion, the guard will always be defensive in nature, no matter what the sport or rules are that we're in. Whether it's MMA, self-defense, or sport jiu-jitsu with points, IBJJF, or whatever else, it will always be defensive in nature first. And I understand people argue there's a lot of things you can do from there. You can sweep, you can submit, you can armbar, you can triangle, you can Kimura, all these different offensive weapons that are inside of that position have kind of fooled us as a community to start thinking like it is a offensive first weapon. It is not. I think that sport jiu-jitsu has allowed us to play a lot of positions and guards that probably are not functional if you transition to MMA or you transition to self-defense, or if we just add a strike, any kind. But also I think that we do a disservice when we are looking at what's occurring at the highest level of competition and thinking that that is what molds or decides what things are. And what I mean by that is this. There used to be a time when the Kimura was king. It was very popular. It was a blue belt, late white belt, early blue belt, and the Kimura trap system was the thing everyone was using. And then people moved on to other positions. Now we're doing a lot of leg locks, barambolos. And so things became popular and other things became less popular. In my opinion, I don't think that those things are any less effective. They're just popular to play. I think that as a sport, it became more popular to be flowy, to scramble out of things, to scramble into things, and it became an athletic event in that sense. And we got away from controls, weight, pressure, angles, downward pressure. And at the highest level, we get this impression that that's how we're supposed to do jiu-jitsu. And really, it's how it's being done now. It's not how it's quote unquote supposed to be. And I'm not saying that sport jiu-jitsu is bad or anything like that. What I'm getting at is that what is being done is often what's popular and not necessarily what's most functional. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing what's popular. That's great. But I think it skews the lens sometimes where we think that the guard is equal to being on top. And that to me just doesn't equate. In my opinion, as I said, guards are often framed like they're offensive platforms because that's what we're seeing at the highest level, and that's how people are playing it. And I think that the guard, the intricacies of it, the attacking level, and the sophistication of it got really popular because it was so fun to play that the passing sophistication kind of dropped a little bit. And people, again, they get a collar tie, they get a grip on the collar, a sleeve, a hand, a wrist, and they drop to your butt and you start playing the guard. And we've gotten to such a level that both people drop to their butt and start trying to play the guard. And then the IBJJF had to come out with a rule where you need to do this, this, or this, or you get penalized because another aspect of the game, top position, was being ignored or not being developed as well. I think that in truth, the guard is reactive. You're underneath someone, you're being pressured, and you're trying to stay safe first and foremost. Your submissions mean nothing if you can't control people at a distance. They mean nothing if the person crowds you too far and you can't build frames. So The number one priority of the guard is not submissions, it's not sweeps. Number one priority is framing, keeping a healthy amount of distance where they can't backtrack and retreat and disengage, because they can, or that they crowd you and go forward so far that the frames are no longer effective and no longer useful to bring sweeps and submissions from. That is the first priority of playing the guard. So if that's the first priority and a high level ingredient in how to do and pull off submissions and sweeps, how can we call the guard an offensive position? You can't win any points off of it. Every point that you make off of the guard requires you to be on top in a quote unquote offensive position. When I do a takedown, I don't get any points if the person stands back up. I don't get any points if I decide to pull guard. The points are awarded when I pull someone or I take someone down, and then I hold the position from top. Every sweep, the goal is to get to the top position. Submissions are another thing. Submissions are almost like, the guard to me is like that whole castle analogy. It's a stronghold because it's very defensive. You have to get past the feet, the shins, the knees, the hands, the wrists, the elbows. You have to get past all these fortified aspects. And those aspects are really dangerous. If you don't know what you're doing, you can caught it in any number of submissions. But it comes off of the framing. So it's a stronghold, but I wouldn't call it the high ground, which the top position is, but it's defensive enough with enough teeth in it that it gives you the ability to be offensive. I equated it to like the idea of the walls being the frames, trapdoors being sweeps, that type of thing. They are, under the right circumstances, people develop huge games, beautiful games off of it, intricate games off of it. But it doesn't make it any more offensive position than if we were discussing maybe war or battle. You'll have an entrenched army in a facility, in a castle, a building, a warehouse, a city, whatever it might be. They have the same weapons as the invading force, whether that's swords, knives, M16s, rifles, whatever you want to call it. They're just as deadly. It doesn't mean that because you play the guard, you can't be deadly. It doesn't mean because you play defense that you can't be deadly. The guard has weapons. Then the invading force is coming in. They also have weapons. But when you look at those two subjects and you're saying someone's entrenched, it's automatically defensive. They're not moving forward. They're not engaging. They're playing a defense. They're defending a position. The invading army, on the other hand, which is the guard pass of the person playing top, they're moving forward. The things that they have on at their disposal as a guard or as a guard passer, or top player, is that you get to determine when you engage. It's seldom that the bottom player gets to engage on their terms. Top player gets to decide what the angle is. Bottom player has to respond to it. Top player gets to usually engage and get their grips first. Bottom person has to respond to those grips. I get to use gravity, pressure, weight. All of that is in my favor. While you're building frames, traps, issuing sweep attempts, submission attempts, but at the same time, like at the end of the day, I'm the one engaging. I'm the one coming forward. I'm the one determining what kind of angle you're going to have to play against. You're responding to anything I'm doing. So when I'm looking at these two things and we're looking at it, and I have these debates and people are like, well, the guard is deadly. Yes. Someone entrenched with a weapon is deadly. That doesn't negate it or make it any more offensive. It doesn't make it any more, it doesn't erase the fact that your primary objective is to defend a position. And the position you're defending is your body, your rib cage, your hips. And then another argument that I get is, well, you have to pass the guard to submit. That's not true. I could submit you with a leg lock. I didn't pass anything. You know what I mean? In some ways, I could submit you with pressure. I don't have to really pass anything. I could submit you from top of half. I can go for a toe hold, a knee bar. I could go for a lot of things from that position. So the argument of, but you have to pass in order to submit doesn't hold weight either. So I just think that all these things matter, and it's not to relegate someone as lesser than because they play guard. We all have to play guard. We all have to learn it really well because at some point we're going to be there. As a black belt, I have students who I have to play guard with. It just is what it is. I'm not stronger. I'm not bigger. They toss me around a little bit, and I have to play the guard. And I have to use it in a way that allows me to get to the top position and then wear them down, kill them with pressure, get the submissions I want. Because the bottom, again, to be technically sound or fair, is an inferior position. No matter how in love we are with the position, is inferior. It's less than. It's deadly, but it's not the position that I want to be in. I think that we have to understand what the two are so that we can judge encounters better. Because there's times when you'll be watching a MMA bout, or not an MMA bout, but a jiu-jitsu match, and people will be like, well, he held him off. So? Yeah, but he almost got to sweep. And? Top person crushed him for 2-3 minutes. Top person was forcing him to carry the weight. Like, that's more impressive to me. That's more offensive to me. You could have thrown out a couple of triangles or an armbar or whatever, but the top person is still coming forward. And it's kind of like that boxer analogy of in fighting and MMA and boxing, they award effective aggression. And as a counterpuncher, you kind of sometimes get levied a minus mark from the judges because you tend to be taking a step backwards. The guard is similar to that. You're taking a step backwards to set things up and counter and create traps, which is beautiful, but it's just a different dynamic. The rules of engagement within the two is different. Again, nothing wrong with that. I just think it allows us to understand jiu-jitsu better when we look at it for what it actually is and not how we've fallen in love with it. There's nothing wrong for playing guard. We all play it. I have my favorite guards that I like to play. But at the end of the day, if there's someone that's high level, skilled, or bigger or stronger than me, I play the guard, but I don't actually want to be there. It's not fun carrying that weight. It's not fun fending someone off from passing. It's not a fun experience. So when I'm on top and I get to drop that weight, I get to cut the angle, I get to force you to have to worry about my grips and where I'm stepping or where I'm angling or where I'm shifting. All that is mental pressure and physical pressure that I would rather have as a top person. Just me. So strategically, it's a position of survival. You get to disrupt at times. You get to counter at times. You get to transition to other things at times. But all of that is the primary goal of survival, the primary goal of defense and defending a position and not allowing them to get further ahead in the game. Because once I get past and I get to that top position, side, half, mount, back, it's a whole nother game. The guard is useless by that point. So I think I like the concept of having a guard that people can't pass. But when I get on top, I stay on top. Because the top position will always be a more advantageous position than the guard. Love to know what your opinions are, comments, DMs, whatever you want to do. If you have any questions on anything you're struggling with, you can work with me at dfmcoaching.com. If you have quick questions, something that like, hey, what's your opinion on this or that, or I'm struggling with this, you can always shoot me a message on dfm.2099 on Threads, or Instagram, I love answering questions. I just want to see people get better. I understand this is a topic that sometimes annoys people, but I always get a lot of counter to it. So I felt like I should speak on it and maybe create more dialogue. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. Until next time.